When a when a client comes into the Pregnancy Resource Center, I'll just wait. When a client comes into the Pregnancy Resource Center, she has three options: parenting, adoption, or abortion. Our keynote speaker tonight, Claire Culwell, has been affected by all three of these options. 10 years ago, Claire learned that her life was a miracle when she met her biological mother. And as she will share with you, she has been in a whirlwind ever since. Claire has been super busy lately. In the last few weeks, she has been interviewed by Fox News 3 times. This week, for example, Monday, she testified before the Texas House Committee. Tuesday, she was in Virginia for an interview with CBN. Yesterday, she was interviewed at Fox News headquarters in New York. Tonight, she's here with us. Tomorrow, she'll go home for a breath and then fly, I think, to Colorado. So, to say the very least, this woman is a voice and a force for the lives of the unborn. It would be an incredible understatement to leave it there. So we're winning precisely because of people like her. I'd like to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Claire Culwell.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. I live in Austin, Texas, and many people tonight that I've shared that with have said, "Oh, I'm sorry." So I thought I'd make a Texas joke for you. So I get to travel all over, as you heard. I speak at about 20 Pregnancy Resource Center banquets across the country every year. And I flew across Texas, and I got to this banquet, and I called the executive director, and she said, "Oh, I'm so excited you're here, and I'm so excited to share what we did for the first part of our fundraiser." And I thought, okay, they had a ladies' brunch or a golf tournament, something like that. And she quickly said, "We caught a lot of fish." And I said, "You did what?" And she said, "We had a bass fishing tournament for the first part of our fundraiser." And I thought, only in Texas would we catch a bunch of fish, and that would be successful and raise a bunch of money for pregnant women. But I felt right at home there that day. Texans are funny. I am proud to be a Texan, but I am very proud to be here with you tonight. I do have a very interesting story. I met my birth mother 10 years ago. It was something that I grew up always knowing that I was adopted. My sister is also adopted. And this was something that we knew could possibly be a possibility for us later on in life. My adoption was closed, and so I wasn't able to search for my birth mother or find out anything about my birth mother until I turned 18. But I really didn't have a need or a big desire to meet my birth mother until I watched my sister meet hers. My sister is a couple years younger than me, but my parents knew her birth mother, and so she had a very different experience with looking for her birth mother, because she got cards and things growing up from her birth mother, and so she knew certain things that I didn't. And so my sister had this incredible reunion with her birth mother. Her birth mother, as she found out, was 30 years old when she had my sister and placed her for adoption. The only reason she placed my sister for adoption was because she wanted my sister to have a daddy. And she knew that she couldn't provide that for my sister. And so she made the incredibly loving and selfless decision to place my sister for adoption. And once my sister met her birth mother actually came to visit us in Austin. And we were sitting around this table, and her birth mother was next to me, and something inside of me said, Claire, you need to lean over and you need to thank this woman for giving you your sister. Because my life, my family, wouldn't be the same without my sister. Our family wouldn't be complete without my sister. And I knew she had done this incredible thing for us. And so I leaned over and I thanked my sister's birth mother for giving me my sister. And in that moment, I realized that I had a birth mother that I had never really thought much about, but that she had given me that same gift of life and my family, the two greatest gifts I would ever receive. And so I knew I needed to reach out and at least thank her. But I knew I wanted to get to know her and get to see what she was like. And so I went home that night and I talked with my parents who had raised me to know that my birth mother did something great for me. And so they were excited about this possibility. They were excited to have the opportunity to thank the woman who completed our family and gave us to each other. And so we called my adoption agency on the phone a couple days later, and a woman named Debbie answered the phone. And I told her my name, and I said that I wanted to search for my birth mother, but I didn't know anything about her, and so I wanted to know if she could search for her and find her, and even if she didn't want to meet me, if she could at least thank her for me. And Debbie on the other line was silent. There was silence, and then she spoke up, and she said, wow, Claire, I know exactly who you are. I've had your picture on my desk for the past 21 years, and I didn't know why at the time. That didn't make any sense to me at that time, but that was my first glimpse of God's bigger picture and of his bigger plan for my life. Debbie was actually my birth mother's caseworker when she lived at this adoption home, this maternity home. And so Debbie did find my birth mother, and she gave my birth mother the option whether she wanted to meet me or not. And I was thrilled when I got the call on Christmas Eve that my birth mother did, in fact, want to meet me. And so we had a phone call, and then we set a meeting up, and we met in Dallas, Texas, which was an in-between spot for us. And I brought my family, and she brought her family, and it was this great reunion. I was able to see who I looked like and share pictures with her. We laughed and we cried. I met my 3 half-sisters that I have through her that she went on to raise herself. And I got to just see what it could have been like to be raised by her, why God blessed me and made me a whole 4'11" and a half. It was a great reunion. It was so great that we decided we wanted to continue our relationship, and so we set up a second meeting. And this time I flew to Oklahoma, where she lives, and I would get to see where she grew up and where I would have grown up if she had kept me. So in preparation for that second meeting, my love language is gifts, and I wanted to continue to affirm what she had done for me and how grateful I was to her, because oftentimes mothers that place babies for adoption, they believe this lie about themselves that they weren't good enough mothers. And I wanted her to know that she was the best mother for me because of what she had done for me and because of that selfless and courageous decision. And so I got her this gift. I got her a ring and a necklace with my birthstone on it. And on the plane, on my way to visit her, I had this card with the gift, and it was empty, and I didn't know where to begin. And so I summed it up, and I just said, "Thank you for choosing life for me. That's the greatest gift I've ever received." And I sealed it up, and I put it in this bag. And that night we got there, and I gave her the gift. And she opened this gift, and she saw the ring and the necklace, and she cried really happy tears, and she asked me to put them on her. And then she opened the card, and I watched as she read those words, "Thank you for choosing life for me." And I watched as what were really, really happy tears turned into really, really sad tears. My birth mother grabbed my hand, and I remember the pain in her eyes, and it was unlike anything I had ever seen before. Definitely unlike any pain that I had ever experienced before. Her hands were shaking, and she grabbed my hand and led me into this other room, and we sat on this bed, and she started to tell me about her life at the time that she was pregnant with me. She said that she was 13 years old. She was in 8th grade. Her parents were divorced, and she lived with her mother, who worked multiple jobs and didn't have the time to be with her a lot. And so my birth mother found herself pregnant at 13 years old. When she approached her mother, her mother said, "Well, you're not ready to be a mother. I'm not ready to be a grandmother, and so there's only one choice for us." And so my birth mother that day was driven to a local abortion clinic where she did have an abortion. She had a D&E, dismemberment, late-term abortion, and at that appointment, they told her what they tell every single other little girl like her, woman, man, family that walks into their doors. They told her that her life would go back to normal, that she wouldn't have this weight on her shoulders, she wouldn't have this financial responsibility that she couldn't afford, she wouldn't have the embarrassment of walking through the halls of 8th grade pregnant. They told her so many things, but they promised her life would go back to normal, but it never did. 4 weeks went by, and she said things just didn't seem right. She felt like she was still pregnant. And so she went back to that abortion clinic, and they told her that day that her abortion had been successful on one baby, but that she had been pregnant with twins, and that I had survived her abortion. My birth mother made a second and a third request, including in Kansas, out of state, for a late-term abortion, because at this point she was now 6 months along in her pregnancy, and they couldn't do that in Oklahoma where she lived. But when she was in Kansas being examined by a doctor that was known to never turn anyone away, he told her that day that he couldn't do it because the amniotic sac that I was in had been leaking fluid, and it was too dangerous to perform that second abortion. And so my birth mother was sent to the adoption agency where Debbie lived, the woman that answered my call, and I was born 2 weeks later. I was born at 30 weeks. I was 10 weeks premature. I weighed 3 pounds, 2 ounces. My hips were completely dislocated on both sides. I had club feet, and my first year was filled with body casts and things as they corrected my body from how I was born. The past 10 years until recently, I thought that the abortion had caused my medical problems. But I've recently, through doctors' examinations, they have come to the conclusion that the abortion didn't cause my medical problems. Being a twin and sharing womb space caused my medical problems. And that, to me, is even more miraculous than what I have come to know my story to be. Because an abortion, a late-term dismemberment abortion that pulled my twin apart limb by limb, left me untouched. That is a miracle. I am so grateful to be able to stand before you today, and with the permission of my birth mother, one of the most courageous women I have known in my life. With her permission, I am able to share this story with you. This was her deepest, darkest, most painful secret. No one knew that I existed until I was 21 and I searched for her. That's when she told her husband and her children and her friends and her dad. That's when she shared this news, because this was something that haunted her. This was something that was so shameful and so painful. For 21 years, she couldn't fathom sharing it with anyone. But then I met her. And when I saw that pain in her eyes, I knew I had to do something, because I knew that no woman and no little girl deserves to experience what she has because of abortion. And so I did the unfathomable. I asked my birth mother if I could share her deepest, darkest, most painful secret with you and with people across the country. And she said yes. I didn't have to ask twice. She said yes because she never wants another little girl like her, or another woman, or another man, or another family, or another generation to experience what we have because of abortion, because of a woman's right to choose. We are living in a very interesting time right now, aren't we? My story has, as it was mentioned earlier, being an abortion survivor has put me on the front lines right now. Half of America likes me, and half of America wants to pretend that I don't exist. Because to acknowledge that an abortion survivor exists would mean acknowledging the humanity of the unborn baby like me. And they can't do that. But that's okay, because now is our time. I am not alone. There are 279 abortion survivors in our country who have reached out through an organization called the Abortion Survivors Network that was founded by my dear friend Melissa Oden, who is also an abortion survivor. We are going to show America the face of abortion survivors. Abortion may have affected me in a more unique way than most. But most of us in this room and most of us across this country have been affected by abortion in some way, whether we know it or not. 1 in 3 women in our country, and that means 1 in 3 men as well, have had or will have an abortion in their lifetime. And if you take being affected by abortion in ways like I have, or ways like my family has, that means that far, far more than 1 in 3 have been affected by abortion in some way, whether they know it or not. This is our issue. We know tonight that God created one thing in his image. And what was that one thing? He could have created anything in his image. But he chose us. He chose life. And because of that, it is every single one of us in this room, it is our honor, our responsibility, and our duty to defend it and to protect it. Until, like earlier it was mentioned, abortion is not just made illegal in our country, but it is made unthinkable. We can make that possible through places like your pregnancy center tonight. We can make the impossible, because that's how every single woman that is walking through the doors of an abortion clinic or picking up the phone and calling your pregnancy center thinking they're looking for an abortion and looking for a way out, every single one of them feels like it's impossible to continue their pregnancy. It's impossible to be a mother and go to school and have a career and do the things that they want to do in their life. Every single woman feels like that is impossible. But we tonight know how strong women are. We know how strong families are. And we know that women can do all of those things. Abortion does not empower. It tells a woman she can't when we know that she can. And so I'm so thankful that you're here tonight, because I had to do something. When I met my birth mother, I'm an introvert, naturally. My parents still sit in the audience like, who is that? But God has a big sense of humor, and he uses us in the biggest way when we step out of our comfort zone and let him do the work. And so I want to ask you tonight to step out of your comfort zone with me. And I don't know what that looks like for you, but I know what it's looked like for me. What it's looked like for me has been my face on national news, my testifying before representatives. It's been speaking in front of hundreds and thousands of people. It's been uncomfortable. I've had to be vulnerable. I've had to be rejected. People don't want to see my face. People don't want to acknowledge my existence. Nothing about this has been comfortable for me, but that's okay, because it means I'm doing something right. It means that God is using me in a more powerful way than I could be used when I'm not stepping out of my comfort zone and letting him do the work. And so I want to ask you to step out of your comfort zone with me. There are so many ways that we can make the impossible possible for women and for families across this country, and even right here in your city and in your state. We can, so there's a few things I just want to encourage you to do. Every single one of us can pray. That is the most important thing that you can do in this fight. Pray. Pray for the mothers. Pray for the families. Pray for your pregnancy center. Pray for your congressmen. Pray for your church leaders that they will be bold and they will speak the truth, because so many aren't. Pray for the pro-life movement. Get involved. We need people praying outside of the abortion clinics. We need you to call into your senators and representatives. And we need you to get 100% behind your pregnancy center, because they can't do it without you. I imagine what it would have been like for my birth mother if there had been a place like your pregnancy center there for her in her time of need, when she was walking towards that abortion clinic, or when she picked up the phone and looked up where to call. If there had been a place like your pregnancy center in her time of need, She has told me that she would have made a different choice. She wishes that she made a different choice. And maybe my twin would be standing here next to me. There's no way to even comprehend the magnitude of what y'all can accomplish here tonight. Y'all are going to encourage and save lives of people just like me. I have a 6-year-old daughter. Her name is Sadie June, and she wears bows as big as Texas. She's really fun. And the moment that I held her in my arms for the first time, I thought, this is it. This is the best it gets. Every parent in the room knows that feeling. And then it hit me. No, this is better. Because my little girl, my Sadie June, wouldn't be here if that abortion had taken my life. And to imagine a life without her is unfathomable. And so this is huge. Guys, we are seeing changes in history. We are seeing changes in our leaders. We are even seeing the other side outraged because of the laws that are being passed that people know are wrong and are taking the lives of people just like me. And so I want to encourage you to step out of your comfort zone, to get on your knees and pray, because this is God's issue, and that makes it our issue. And it's going to take every single one of us to make abortion illegal in Missouri, across the country, and even more than that, make it unthinkable. And so I'm asking you tonight to do all of those things. And then I'm asking you to make your most generous contribution as Joe comes up here. Because this matters. Because of you, because of every single one of you in this room, and nobody's excluded, there will be more and more and more people just like me walking this earth. People just like you. So I would encourage you to give your most generous contribution. Because I can imagine a life without my twin. I live that every day. But I would never want anyone else to imagine that kind of life. To imagine a life where you're missing someone that mattered, that God created with a purpose and a plan. And tonight, you have the opportunity to partner in an incredible way with your finances, with your contributions, to make sure that less and less families experience what my family has because of abortion. And I want to encourage y'all that we are, as you've heard tonight, we are winning this fight. And there are things that are going to happen in the weeks to come that are going to shake things up. And I am excited about it. So pray for your pregnancy center, because their doors are going to be flooding with women that are going to start believing in themselves and are going to choose life. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me. God bless you.